in your opinion, which particular key areas need this special attention in with regards to decolonization, and what are the generic steps that can be taken to assure that?
So, as I mentioned before, bureaucracy, judiciary, police reforms, and also educational reforms. These are the four legacies of colonialism that still persist, that we haven't questioned, that we haven't sought to reform. And even when there has been a question of reform, it's just been tiny reforms. So the administrative reforms, instead of reimagining what the bureaucracy should be like, is just we'll allow some lateral entry. That's not enough. And the problem with that is that the state still has this colonial mentality of the maibap, feudal arrangement, wherein government jobs are not designed to pursue government policy. They are a form of patronage that the big feudal lord occasionally throws to a few subjects to buy their loyalty. So you make sure that XYZ from ABC community is represented. They got a government job, and that will keep them quiet for a few years. And because that's just the standard operating procedure, they can't think big enough outside of the box to dismantle it, because this is the system that got them to power, and this is the system they rely on now to stay on power. So nobody, when they've climbed up a ladder to reach the roof, they don't kick the ladder away
Mm-hmm.
because they worship the ladder, because, oh yeah, the ladder is what gave us this power. But they forget that power is just a method. The goal of power, of acquiring power, is to create change, to create the kind of change in society that you want to see. So that's something that needs to be done. That in terms of the bureaucracy, it needs to be professionalized. It's not it's not conducive to the aspirations of the people, that you can give an exam and then have a guaranteed job for life, and be insulated from the commoners. Even
Mm-hmm.
the privileges that government officials get, they're a legacy of colonial times. In other countries, a bureaucrat rents his or her own apartment with their own salary and lives among the people and takes public transport and has to deal with the consequences of their policies. In India, this IAS is the entire civil services are a continuation of what was designed for British officers to protect them from the subjects. That's why they have special neighborhoods to live in. That's why they have an army of servants. So these feudal colonial privileges need to be dismantled, as well as the sense of entitlement that comes from just passing an exam and becoming a tenured government official. So shorter contracts, lateral hiring, direct hiring, or specific exams and requalification requirements for government posts is important. With police, a switch to community policing is essential. So at the moment, the police engages in what's called barracks policing. So they sit at the police station, wait for something bad to happen, then you go there and say, "Oh, sir," and you go there with great fear, like working class or middle class people don't want to go to the police station because they're worried about what will happen to them, who's raising the
Mm-hmm.
complaint. So the police sit in the thana, they wait for a crime to happen, then you tell them that the crime happens, it's noted, and then there's no incentive for them to prevent the crime or address it. It's just like, okay, it's been noted, now we need to go find the guy who did it and beat him up a bit, and oh yes, problem solved, we helped the natives. Now that's unfortunate. That's not serving the community.
Mm-hmm.
Community policing means being engaged within society. So being on patrol, keeping an eye out on changes in the community, preventing crime, talking to people, and understanding who's at risk of becoming a criminal, who's at risk of being radicalized, being embedded within society instead of being this scary outpost of semi-militarized government authority that everyone is scared
Hmm.
of except the criminals. So that's what the essence of police reform is. We also need more female police officers in order to build more trust with the communities that they serve. Uh, then judicial reforms. I don't even know where to begin with judicial reforms. There's ideally, so this is tied to constitutional reforms as well.
Mm-hmm.
We should also be looking at accelerating the conditions for a second republic, like Ghana did, or like um, Sri Lanka did, and dream big. Create a new form of governance that
Mm-hmm.
is active both at the grassroots and at the central level. At the moment, we have a weak central government. No matter how many seats it has, it's still dependent on states for implementation because of the state list and the concurrent list. We
Mm-hmm.
have very strong states, which is perfect fodder for subnational diplomacy and for balkanization. And then we
Mm-hmm.
have useless local authorities, which most of them only existed after 1991 or so, 92, with the Panchayati Raj institutions that were institutionalized. That they don't have any power. They're just a popularity contest within the village level, or a front for party to do fundraising in city municipalities. So that has to change. You need a strong federal government, a strong central government, and you need strong local government to
Mm-hmm.
take care of delivery. You can cut out the middleman. So what I suggest is that India has a rich tradition of grassroots democracy from the bottom up, and we
Mm-hmm.
should embrace that. So we should dissolve the current set of states and designate. We have 740 districts. Designate them as states, so as janpads. So you have central government and then 740 janpads, and these janpads don't need to have a legislature of their own. One
Hmm.
nation, one law. Uh, but they should have their own executive head. They can have a cabinet of ministers. So they need an executive
Hmm.
uh, and in charge of education delivery, healthcare delivery, uh, electricity, policing, security. And with that, we also need to decentralize our police and our judiciary. So at the central level, the Supreme Court should be split into a constitutional court that deals only with, is X law constitutional when it was passed, yes or no? And a court of final appeal, which you go to when you've exhausted every other court. At the Janpad level, you need to have a system of decentralized courts that function in the language of the local people,
Hmm.
that then allow people to get justice in a timely and efficient manner. We should also have alternate dispute settlement mechanisms, so without needing to involve judges or lawyers, to have a system of arbitration, so that cases that don't need to appear in front of courts can be resolved in advance. And then if you didn't get justice at the janpad level, you can go to the court of final appeal. Similarly, with the police, there should be a federal police that is in charge of counter extremism, counter terrorism,
Hmm.
and national security. So fighting Naxals, for example, who have specialized training.
Mm-hmm.
And at the community level, you should have, so at the janpad level, you should have community policing, that a force which is designed to prevent crime, which has incentives and structures designed for crime prevention. And you can also divide that into a crime prevention wing and a crime investigation wing. So one prevents crimes from happening, and the other deals with the crimes that do take place. So these are the kind of reforms we need to be thinking about. At the moment, uh, there hasn't been enough appetite on that. It's just been about tinkering with the current system to make it a bit more human, a bit more friendly, a bit more efficient. But yeah, that was good, in 2014, 15. But now, looking at how the world is changing and looking at the leaps that our neighbor in China is taking, with the kind of changes that artificial intelligence is going to create, we have to equip ourselves for this new world, for a new Cold War, for more automation, for a
Mm-hmm.
change in the entire socioeconomic basis of society. So we have to, in other words, future-proof ourselves, prepare for the future. And the current set of institutions are not suited for that. So one way or another, they're going to change. And it's best if we change them ourselves at our own pace, by creating momentum from the grassroots, by putting pressure on Parliament to push this sort of change. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we don't change it at our own pace, it'll happen anyway at someone else's pace. It'll happen,
Mm-hmm.
through civil war. It'll happen through some sort of catastrophic collapse. The point is, when institutions are so ill-suited for society, society moves forward whether the institutions want it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the
Very
question
true.
is, will we take it with us, or will we pull the rug from under it, or someone else might pull the rug from under it?
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.